It was the summer of 1949. Young geologist Vadim Kolpakov was on a mission to Siberia. His job was to draw a geological map of the area. While on duty, he came across something so mysterious and remarkable, it'd continue to puzzle experts decades later. Though it's now more famous as the Potomsky crater, locals had dubbed it Fire Eagle Nest, probably because it looks like a giant bird nest sitting on the hill. But what was hiding inside would be the most surprising and baffling discovery. Well, if you could get close enough to uncover its secrets. According to the locals, even wild animals are scared to go near it. Kolpakov began walking towards it slowly. From far away, it looked like a giant bird nest indeed. The closer he got, the bigger it became. The crater appeared to be fresh. It was also deserted. Trees didn't grow on the slopes of this natural structure, and the winds didn't carry enough soil to make plant growth possible. As for animals, none in sight. He climbed all the way to the top and discovered something unbelievable. It was so hot that he felt the sweat running down his forehead. It was as if he was close to a fire source. His first thought was that this thing is volcanic. When he looked down, he was met with a perfectly circular mound in the middle. The round hump in the center of the crater was around the height of your standard telephone pole. Such things don't appear in volcanoes, even in extinct ones, and there aren't any around here that link to this peculiar mount. Unable to solve the strange appearance of the bad place, Kolpakov went back home and told everyone about his discovery. What was once a local anomaly would soon become a worldwide mystery. The whole scientific community started digging and coming up with theories. A lot of experts agreed this must have been the work of a meteorite. So, they ran tests to see if a meteorite impact could create this double mound structure. The findings? The crater was likely formed by a falling, somewhat spherical object made from a dense material that could only exist in space. More experiments found that it wasn't just one object falling from space, but two. When the first meteorite hit the Earth, it exploded and formed the crater. Then, the second object followed, but it was slowed down by the first impact and sunk deep into the ground. But others objected, claiming that meteorites can't fly one after the other and hit the planet in the exact same spot. With so many questions still unanswered, more experts came to the Siberian taiga to take a shot at solving the mystery. One of them studied trees' rings and collected wood samples. They figured out that the crater likely appeared about 300 years ago. They also discovered that vegetation in this spot grew way faster than usual. After ruling out other growth-boosting factors like better soil content and more sunshine for some period, the only guess they were left with was radiation. Yes, the experts knew that when exposed to high doses of radiation, trees and plants grow faster. But the radiation levels on and around the crater were low. At some point in the last 300 years or so, there must have been radioactive material in the area. Was it a space rock? A unique type of volcano? All theories and no conclusions. Expeditions continue to this day in search of answers.
Okay, today I'll show you things you've never seen and tell you stuff you never knew. Wow, all in one video! What a bargain! For example, these soda fountain stations in fast food restaurants. We all see the nice side of it, but have you ever wondered where all this soda comes from? Let me take you behind the scenes. Ta-da! Turns out it's a pile of boxes with tubes. So when the drink runs out, the employees change the box and plug the tube back in. Okay, let's peek into a couple more places where we normally don't belong. This is, for example, what you will see if you cut the screen of a Mac open. And here's what's hidden behind the dryers in a public laundromat. Today, 4 out of 5 households in the US have a dryer, but they weren't so widely accessible when they first appeared in the 1950s because they were way too expensive for the average homeowner. Now, grocery shopping isn't an uncommon practice, and we all have walked past dairy fridges a million times. But have you ever wondered what's behind them? Turns out they're just shelves, and store employees stack the products from the other side. It makes perfect sense, but I never imagined it like this. Now this photo shows what's behind the elevator buttons. Obviously a bunch of cords. The buttons are all wired to a computer that manages the elevator. How does the computer know where the elevator is at a particular time? Well, there are several possible systems, but the most common one is a long vertical tape in the shaft with a series of holes. A sensor counts the number of holes that are passed, and that's how the location is determined. Okay, there are a couple of common things we all know, but the purpose of which remains a mystery to most. So let me share these secrets with you. Those metal rivets on jeans have been there from the very beginning. Jacob Davis, the iconic man who made the first pair of jeans, added copper rivets to places where pants are most likely to rip. Today they have more of a decorative and distinctive purpose since they are a traditional attribute of the jeans everyone knows of. Now I'll bet you know there are extra loops on some shoes. No, they're not for sweat or ventilation. Those are extra loops for laces, just like other loops you use. But they're there to tie your shoe around the ankle to prevent your foot from moving aside. That's especially helpful if you're hiking and ascending and descending hills and trails. Now, have you ever noticed those half-belt thingies many coats and jackets have at the back? Turns out they first appeared on oversized military jackets, so the extra fabric could be collected on the back and the person doesn't stumble when working. Today, those belts are only added for the sake of style and tradition. Most clothing items you buy come with a small bag of fabric or a button, or both. These are actually not useless. Buttons obviously can be replaced if you lost the original one. Pieces of fabric can serve two purposes. You can patch up the hole, but the main purpose is to provide you with a sample of cloth, so you can use it to test different washing products on it and see what happens to the fabric. Now, pom-poms on woolen hats. Did you know that sailors were wearing hats with pom-poms in the 18th century to protect their heads in case they accidentally whacked them? Regular people were wearing them in Scotland, and the color of the pom-pom signified the person's social status. People got back to wearing hats with those cute decorative items during the Great Depression. They're made of spare yarn, so it was a cheap way to decorate your hat. Now, if you haven't noticed, some sidewalks have little plates with bumps on them. Most people don't pay much attention to them, but they're very important for visually impaired people. It signals a slope that then leads to a crosswalk. Also, several patterns signal different things. Have you noticed that the icon of a gas tank on car dashboards has a little arrow next to it? Well, the arrow has a purpose. It points at the side of the car where the gas tank is located. Very useful for forgetful people, like me, who constantly wonder which side it is on, and also for those who drive rentals once in a while. The answer is right in front of your eyes. If you can't find the arrow on your panel, then the fuel hose on the icon indicates the side instead. Now, on the back of many makeup and hygiene products, you'll find this symbol with a marking like 6M, 12M, and 24M. This is the number of months this product can serve you before you should toss it out. You might know that whistles work perfectly fine even if they don't have that ball inside. And yet they have it. But why? Even though there's a sound without the ball, the noise it creates is very flat, and it's not distinguishable enough. When the whistle has a ball inside, then it starts moving with every blow, indicating different pitches and making the noise more noticeable. Lollipop sticks have those squared holes on the end of their sticks for a reason, too. When the candy is put on the stick, some of it goes into the hole, fixating the candy part. This way, the candy ball, or whatever shape, is less likely to fall off the stick. Yeah, it's a bummer when that happens. Measuring tapes have that little metal stud on the end. Most people know that you can use it to stick it to the side of the surface you're measuring. But it's not the only cool thing about it. Look, there's also a small slot, and this slot can be used to hang it on a nail, again to free your hands and keep measuring. The bottom of the end of the tape has a ridged edge. It'll help you make a mark if you don't have a marking tool with you. Have you ever wondered why the tape's blade is curved? Well, it helps to keep it rigid when extended. Pay a closer look at the blade. Apart from numbers and markings, there are also black diamonds. Those are there every 12.2 inches, and they're useful for construction workers to space engineering joists. They can also be useful for you if you want to hang something heavy, for example. The diamond will mark the exact center of a stud, which is placed 16 inches apart from one another. And you can drill something to that center to make sure whatever you hang is safely attached. Now, most coins have ridges, and this is the legacy of the olden days. You see, back in the day, all coins were linked to a silver standard. The amount of silver used in the coin was proportionate to the value of the coin. So, the more actual silver was used to make the coin, the higher its value was. Hi-ho, Silver! Do you remember the Lone Ranger? Silver was the name of his horse. Never mind. Anyway, all the coins had precious metal in them, and some people started shaving off a little bit of silver from it. It wasn't noticeable on one, but if done on several, people could get quite a bit of that precious metal. So, to prevent fraud, the edges were made with ridges for security reasons. So, if someone attempted to shave it off, the ridges would disappear and no one would accept that coin anymore. Smart. Today, no one makes coins out of silver. The coins just represent the value. But the ridges are kind of a cultural heritage now. And finally, a typical plastic milk jug often has inverted circles on one or more of the sides. Not like alien crop circles, this dimple is there to make the jug more resistant and to prevent it from erupting in case the jug falls on the floor. The dimple gives some more space for the liquid to expand. Also, as the expiration date approaches, the microbes in the milk start to expel some gases. As there are more of them trapped inside, the pressure in the jug is rising. The dimple takes care of the expansion and prevents the jug from exploding. And the cows are utterly delighted that their hard work is not wasted.
I bet that's not what you imagine when you think of cashews. But a Redditor found them like this in a store in Brazil. It turns out they're not true nuts. Cashews emerge at the tip of a cashew apple. There's a special word for a fruit with a seed inside, a drupe. So, cashews are drupes, just like almonds and pistachios. Brazil is the homeland of cashews. The tree was brought to India by the Portuguese in the middle of the 16th century, and from there, it spread further to Asia and then to West Africa. Today, these regions are the largest producers of cashews. The biggest consumer is the USA. They get 90% of the world's harvest. Since we're talking about foods, I'll show you a couple more. This, for example, is how pineapples grow. Also, pineapples aren't one of those fruits that grow fast. They take from 16 up to 24 months to grow until they can be harvested. Also, one plant can only produce a maximum of 3 pineapples during its lifetime. Fun facts: every segment of a pineapple used to be a flower. Have you ever wondered why eggplants are called eggplants? Well, you've probably never seen an eggplant growing, so here's a picture. Now it makes sense. They literally look like growing eggs. Also, eggplants aren't vegetables. Botanically, they're berries, just like watermelons. Also, eggplants aren't only purple. They can also be white, green, and even purple with white stripes. You'll never guess what it is. It looks like a flower bouquet, but it's broccoli that hasn't been harvested. Those flowers are actually edible. Broccoli has been known for at least 2,000 years. It was the favorite food of the ancient Romans. But it appeared in North America only in the 1920s. Italian immigrants were the ones to bring it to California and start selling it. Now, the USA is the 3rd largest producer of broccoli, after China and India. And this is what an artichoke turns into if you let it bloom. So, an artichoke is actually an unbloomed flower. It's also one of the oldest foods humans know. Remember that a pineapple takes around 2 years to produce a fruit. And a plant can only carry 3 pineapples during its life, if you're lucky. An artichoke plant grows 20 artichokes per year. The artichoke is one of the healthiest vegetables when it comes to antioxidants. Here's a photo of a sleeping turtle. Many of them sleep inside their shells. It's an instinct to protect themselves from predators. Still, some turtles can't retract to their shells, so they sleep in positions similar to this one. These animals are active during the day and sleep at night. The amount of sleep a turtle needs depends on the species. It can be from 10 hours to just 1. On average, a turtle takes a 4 to 6 hour long nap. The most important factor for a turtle when it goes to sleep is to find a safe place. They can hide under leaves or in holes in the ground. Have you ever seen a chameleon's feet? You're welcome. So, those guys have 2 toes on the inner side of the foot and 3 on the outer side when we talk about front feet, and it's the opposite for the back feet. Chameleons live on trees, and their feet help them climb better. We all know about chameleons' unique ability to change colors, but they don't change them to camouflage. In reality, the color depends on the chameleon's mood, temperature, humidity, and light. Also, do you know that some of them have tongues that are twice as long as their body? Ever seen a goose mouth from up close? They have teeth. Only they're called beaks. Goose are very loyal creatures. It's not a myth that a duckling bonds with the first moving stimulus they see after hatching. No matter if it's a goose, a person, or even just an object, they will stay dedicated to that lucky creature or thing throughout their lives. Geese also mate for life, and they're very protective of their offspring. If they lose a loved one, they mourn them. Also, if a goose in a group gets sick or wounded, a couple of other geese will stay with it to protect and take care of it. This cute little buddy is a newborn alligator. But don't be tricked by its cute appearance. This little dude has around 60 teeth already. Also, it's not the DNA that determines the gender of an alligator, it's the temperature. If eggs were laid when it was hot, male alligators will hatch. If they stayed in colder temperatures, then there will be a bunch of females. After hatching, it takes an alligator 10 years to mature. Overall, alligators live around 35 years in the wild. Also, alligators can't live in salt water. Unlike crocodiles, they don't have special glands to excrete salt from their bodies. And this one is a newborn pigeon. I bet you've seen thousands of pigeons in your life, but probably never a newborn one. That's because newborn pigeons stay in the nest for around 6 weeks, which is longer than any other bird. By the time they're out, they almost look like grown-up pigeons, so no wonder you've never noticed the difference. Also, these guys are possibly the first birds domesticated by people. They are also experts in navigation. They can find their way back home from 1,300 miles afar. It's more than the distance between New York and Florida. It's believed that pigeons have an innate sense of direction. Back in ancient times, pigeons actually delivered mail. This is a cow's mouth. Those brushes are called conical papillae. They help a cow move food around in the mouth. Also, cows have a field of vision of 330 degrees, so there's little that can skip their attention. Remember that some turtles only need 1 hour of sleep a day? Cows sleep even less, around 30 minutes a day. And this time is divided into 6 to 10 short periods of deep sleep. These animals lie down for around 10 hours a day. But the rest of the time, they move around, covering quite long distances. And yeah, they also drink around 26 gallons of water a day. Can you guess what this is? It's sand, under 300 times magnification. Sand is rock broken into micro pieces after eroding after millions of years. Also, communities of microbes live on a single grain of sand. Things can get really small in this world. Even though there's a lot of it, sand is still a valuable material. Concrete is made out of it. And also, some countries, like the United Arab Emirates in Singapore, have shipped tons of sand to extend their territory by creating additional islands. Apparently, this is what sinuses look like. They're hollow spaces in your facial bones, behind the forehead, nose, cheekbones, and between the eyes. Those are very important, since they produce mucus, which is a fluid in your nose that filtrates, warms, and moisturizes the air you breathe in. Sinuses also help you detect tastes. Without this ability, the food would be way less delicious. This is the inside of a bowling ball. You may notice that it isn't symmetrical inside, so the weight isn't distributed evenly. This allows the ball to make curves. By the way, do you know that bowling appeared 5,000 years ago in ancient Egypt? Yep, it's not a new sport, and it was popular all over the world. The rules and equipment were different everywhere, though. The first bowling lane was constructed only in the 19th century in New York. This right here is a forgotten pack of cotton candy. Bottom line, don't forget about it, otherwise it'll shrink as if it never existed. Cotton candy is only made of 2 ingredients, colored sugar and air. So now we know that the only ingredient in the world that is, so far, free, air. Also, a thread of cotton candy is actually thinner than a hair. By the way, December 7th is National Cotton Candy Day. Hope you celebrated. If not, mark this day in your calendars for the next year. With only 2 ingredients, this stuff has 0 fat. Also, it was created by a candy maker and a dentist.
Did you ever notice that the toilet paper color is usually white? But this color wasn't always a favorite. In fact, colored toilet papers popped out on the shelves in the 1950s. Homeowners purchased pink, blue, yellow, green, and even black paper because these colors matched the interior. But eventually, many doctors began to associate the dye in colored toilet papers with increased health risks. Also, the dye didn't allow the colored paper to decompose as quickly when it was flushed down, which increased the risk of clogging septic tanks. This made manufacturing and retail prices too high compared to the basic white paper, and eventually, the demand began to fall. And now, let's take a closer look at these fancy patterns. Most people probably don't care about the decorations when it comes to their toilet paper. However, these patterns still exist. But why? Well, there are several opinions. Some say it's just a marketing tool. Manufacturers use pretty decor to make their products look more aesthetically pleasing, and to make customers associate their brand with elegance and a luxurious lifestyle. Another explanation is more practical. These patterns fluff up the paper, which makes it more absorbent. Speaking of fluffiness, have you ever wondered why they have such rough toilet paper in public toilets? The most obvious answer is that high-quality toilet paper is more expensive. Also, companies prefer purchasing giant rolls of low-quality paper because they can change them less frequently. This decision also helps prevent stealing. Yes, people actually steal paper from public toilets. Have you ever noticed that light switches in public toilets are usually placed outside? Well, it's not a coincidence. Construction companies do it for safety reasons because, as we all know, electricity plus water is a dangerous combination. And light switches are connected to power. Therefore, electricity literally flows through them. Of course, professionally installed switches will have a bunch of additional safety precautions. But most builders prefer not to take risks. The UK has far stricter rules for light switch safety compared to the US. That's why if you live in London, you'll probably find light switches outside the bathroom more commonly. But don't worry, most bathrooms in the US feature independent electrical circuits. This provides additional safety in case of accidental electric shock. When any change in the electrical current happens, they should shut off automatically. There are so many awesome lighting opportunities in this world. But why are the traffic lights red, green, and yellow? Turns out there's a reasonable explanation for it. Before traffic lights for cars, there were traffic signals for trains. At first, railroad operators used white color to mean go, red to mean stop, and green to mean caution. But later, they realized that white wasn't such a good idea, because bright white light could easily be mistaken for stars during the nighttime. So railway companies changed the white color for green to mean go and yellow to mean caution, because these colors are easily distinguishable from the others. And eventually, this tradition spread to traffic lights for cars and became a standard. As for the red color, it has the longest wavelength, which means that drivers can see it from a greater distance than other colors. And the color yellow was chosen as a caution sign, because it has a slightly shorter wavelength than red, but still longer than green. What's the dustiest room in your house? Usually, the answer is a bedroom. But why? Bedrooms tend to generate dust from skin cells, dust mites, and fibers from fabrics in your bed sheets, carpets, and curtains. If you have a pet, its fur and skin cells add a significant amount of dirt to this dusty party. Luckily, there are simple ways to make your bedroom less dusty. This includes making your bed every day and cleaning the area regularly with both a vacuum cleaner and water. You can try to get rid of carpets and unnecessary furniture and decor items that tend to collect dust. Also, pay attention to the quality when you buy curtains or bed sheets. The looser the fabric, the more dirt it collects. And finally, you can ban your pet from entering the bedroom. But let's be honest, you would never do that. Modern air purifiers, air conditioners, and ceiling fans can help make your sleeping area cozier, but make sure to clean them regularly. Otherwise, if your filter is dirty or clogged up with fur or any other pollutants, it won't collect new dust properly. And the dust would end up on your bedroom surfaces. Speaking of dust, did you know that you can clean the edge of a broom with a dustpan? This zigzag over here is not only for aesthetic purposes, you can use it as a comb for the bristles. Have you ever had these marks behind your ears after wearing your glasses? Sometimes it can even take them weeks to go away. Well, it's a sign that the side pieces of the glasses, called temples, are not adjusted properly for your head. In other words, they're too tight. This can cause skin irritation and even headaches. If they're bent towards the area behind your ears, they can press on the fragile part of the skull. So, keep in mind that temples should not only have the correct size, but also correct adjustment. A professional optician can easily fix this problem. It's way safer than trying to do it on your own. Box graters can be used in a horizontal position too. In many cases, it's much more convenient to grate a carrot or a big block of cheese this way. If you want to grate a soft product like goat cheese or mozzarella, you can put them in the freezer for about 30 minutes before grating. Also, there's a way to make the cleanup easier and prevent the cheese from sticking. Spray the grater with a small amount of oil before using it. And now, let's take a look at the most unpopular sides of the box grater. Have you ever used them? This side is actually designed for slicing. It's pretty handy if you want to make thin vegetable slices for your salad or pasta. Or sliced potato chips. And these tiny punched-out holes are designed for zesting or very finely grating. Graters are pretty useful for the next non-food tip. If you're on a budget, you can purchase this super cheap laundry soap. Grate a small amount and throw it right into your washing machine instead of using the regular washing gel. Did you know that you can change which way the refrigerator door opens? There are hinges over here. If you attach them on the other side, the doors will swing the other way. But before trying to do any repairs by yourself, make sure to disconnect the power source. And read the instructions for your particular model of the fridge. Have you ever noticed that there's a shiny side and a dull side to tinfoil? Many people believe that it matters which side is used up or down because the shiny side would trap the heat better. But, in fact, it makes no difference at all. The manufacturing process makes the two sides look slightly different, but they both serve their purpose equally. Tinfoil can be used not only in the kitchen. Here's a little known battery hack. Let's say you're out of AA batteries. No worries, use a smaller AAA battery and a bit of tinfoil. Just insert it on one of the ends. This will work because both AA and AAA batteries carry the same amount of voltage. Did you know that Chinese takeout food containers unfold and turn into plates? All you have to do is just to disassemble it from the two sides, and gravity will do the rest. By the way, the old school name for this type of paperboard container is an oyster pail, because it was originally designed to hold oysters.
Think you're ready to see the world in a whole new way? I hope so, because I'm about to blow your mind. Have you ever noticed those plastic lines along the side of your phone? They're the oddly spaced stripes that seem to have no purpose. In reality, though, they're probably your phone's most important feature, because without them, your device would be little more than a smart paperweight. They are antenna lines, allowing your phone to remain wireless. Electromagnetic waves carrying phone, Bluetooth, and Wi-Fi signals cannot pass through metal, which makes up most of the phone's outer case. And the glass panel up front also slows those waves down. It's like there's a bouncer at the door, refusing to let most signals in or out of the phone. Hey, I've been to that nightclub. Anyway, that means no phone calls, no text, and no late-night delivery when you have nothing in the fridge except one egg and something that might have once been lasagna. Those little strips of plastic allow the same electromagnetic waves to come and go as they please. This is why you can call a friend, order a ride, or play an online matching game until 3 in the morning. Hey, don't you have to get up early for work? When you do finally stumble out of bed, make sure you're using this next item correctly to avoid a potentially upsetting situation. The zipper, originally patented as the clasp locker in 1851, didn't become widely used until the 1930s. Now they're on everything, from bags to jackets to jeans. And they're not perfect. They get stuck. They pinch the skin. And we all know what happens if the zipper on our pants refuses to stay up. Well, luckily, this can be avoided. Most zippers have a locking mechanism built right in. When the zip is facing down and flat against the teeth, the lock is engaged and the zipper remains closed. If only I had known that back in school. What about those metal rivets most jeans have? They're more than a design choice. They were added to protect areas that experience the most strain, such as pocket corners and the base of the fly. The rivets hold the fabric together, even when it's being stretched and pulled during work. And since we're talking about clothing, have you ever wondered about that tiny fifth pocket at the front of your jeans? Well, first of all, it isn't really a fifth pocket. Originally, jeans were made with 4 pockets, including that little one in front. The fifth pocket is actually the one on the back left, which was only added to jeans in 1901. The little pocket, though, was important a long time ago. Cowboys needed to keep their pocket watches safe while riding out on the range. Yeehaw! That pocket kept the watches protected but also handy. And then people became so used to it that jeans just look weird without one. Another strange holdout from a bygone day is that stitched V on the front of some sweatshirts. What if I told you that those exact stitches hold the whole shirt together? Well, then I would be lying, and I never do that. But back in the 1940s, this V was very useful. First, the V stitch was initially used to add a patch of stretchy rib fabric to the shirt so that it could fit over our big heads more easily. Secondly, these shirts were specifically designed for sports, so the V included an additional piece of fabric to absorb the sweat that would build up during a game or a workout. As stretchy fabric became readily available and better at handling perspiration, the V lost its traditional value. But, like the tiny jean pocket, it has continued as a decorative feature, a reminder of our big-headed ancestors who apparently only sweated just below the chin. But moving on. One place you won't find many people sweating is the golf course. You will see quite a few fashion disasters, sure, but sweat? Not so much. Golf was invented around the 16th century in Scotland. Back then, the ball was perfectly round and smooth. Over time, the ball would become dented from use, and at some point, golfers discovered that these imperfections actually helped the ball fly farther. Dimples were added on purpose in the 1900s, when it was found out that they reduced the aerodynamic drag that slowed down a smoother ball, and the dimples made the balls easier to control. And no, not all golf balls are created equal. The number of dimples can range from 300 to 500, with one company producing a ball with over 1,000 little dents. Wow, a little overboard, eh? Need a quick, refreshing drink after a round of golf? Juice boxes, created back in 1963, are very convenient. But why do they have these large triangular flaps on top? Their lifted flaps act as hand grips. This stops you from accidentally squeezing a full box and spilling juice all over the place, like onto your favorite t-shirt or the new couch. Now, when you're done golfing, grab your backpack with that leather diamond patch with 2 vertical openings. It's commonly referred to as a lash tab, but I much prefer its other name, pig snout. I mean, it certainly looks like one. You typically find these pig snouts on packs used by hikers and climbers. The diamond is a place to tie any extra gear that they need to carry, like boots, cooking equipment, or sleeping bags. But these lash tabs are also becoming more common on smaller backpacks. They're a nod to the past, but just as useful. Attach your running shoes to one next time you head to the gym, keeping those stinky things away from the rest of your clothes. Now, I'm sure you're a great driver, but for years, you've probably been neglecting an important safety feature right in front of your eyes. That rear view mirror has a small tab located at the bottom center. It's high time you started using it. When this is flipped forward, the mirror is in day mode, providing a strong reflection of everything behind the car. Flipping the tab backward changes the whole situation to night mode. This reduces the brightness of the headlights behind you, resulting in a safer drive. Another cool car tip? If you're borrowing from a friend, using a rental, or have the memory of a houseplant, cars feature a handy indicator to let you know which side the gas tank is on. It's a tiny arrow next to the pump icon that points either left or right. Where the arrow points, that's where the gas tank can be found. And that's one less thing you have to remember. Okay, off to the grocery store. A regular shopping cart has a useful feature you might have been overlooking. Carts usually include loops in the metal frame, often behind the child seat. As you bag your groceries, hang the ones with fragile or squishable items, like eggs or bread, on these loops. Now they're out of harm's way when you toss that giant watermelon into the cart. Later, when you're unloading your groceries, do yourself a favor and grab that box of plastic wrap. You know, the one that is impossible to unroll without the whole tube coming out while the plastic wrap sticks to itself. Check out either end of the box, and you'll see small tabs that you are supposed to push in. This helps to hold the roll in place so you can easily pull the plastic wrap out without all the fuss. Aluminum foil boxes also have these tabs. Now that you can finally use that plastic wrap, try this appealing hack. Separate that bunch of bananas and cover each stem in some plastic wrap. The stem releases a gas called ethylene. When it reaches the rest of the banana, it encourages the fruit to ripen and turn black. If you wrap the stems, your bananas will last longer. And since you're in your kitchen, you might as well warm up that coffee from this morning. Just remove the gross skin that has formed on top. Don't eat it. Of course, as you open the microwave, you'll notice that the glass in the door has a strange black mesh inside. This mesh is designed to stop any radiation from passing through the glass. Like the electromagnetic waves we discussed earlier, radiation can't pass through metal. That mesh keeps it all safely inside to help you heat up your food. Thank you, science. Oh, and about that cup of coffee, did you know that the handle size can help you determine how much the mug actually holds? Let your fingers guide you. If you can fit 2 fingers into the handle, then the mug holds 8 ounces or 1 measuring cup of liquid. 3 fingers, 10 ounces or 1 1/4 cups. 4 fingers, 12 ounces or 1 1/2 cups. Pretty cool, huh?